let us begin our task of continuing to see what happens to Velma Dilly Dilly as one step at a time. Well, prior, we took an aspect of Velma and we changed one aspect and saw how it affected her character, or as it affected his character in the case of the officer soldier. And something like that is also like, how would you keep that in mind? You know, as a female dwarf, as a charlatan, as a female dwarf, as an outlander, forester, barbarian. What is consider this, and it's something we didn't directly bring up because the campaign setting for this sample character is whatever we'd want it to be. But for the dwarves, or if not for the dwarves, for people who follow her lifestyle, her martial lifestyle, her religious, because barbarians can have religion. They can be fervent, true believers in a deity. Don't think that they can't. Well, the other one might not be so much because she just sort of flippantly uses whatever holy symbol is convenient. Or she might say, you know, she might take that Conan the Barbarian tack, and you know, you believe in Crom, but when you ask for a favor, you know, you beseech Crom, and you challenge Crom and say, and if you can't do that, you know, then to the hells with you, Crom. I'll do it myself. And then, you know, you go from there. Although every time I read that blurb about a charlatan, it reminds me of that character Benny from the Mummy, you know, the Brendan Fraser one, where he was cornered by Imhotep, and he started, like, he brought out the different symbols and started, like, praying in different languages until he got to the Star of David in Judaism, and he's like, oh, you are a descendant of the slaves, or something like that. And anyway, that's a fun scene. I can do Thursday games and would be happy DMing sometime if you want to, if I want a break. Well, on Thursday, Alzy, unless you're talking about flying up to Ohio and coming to my store to run my in-store open public game, which would be interesting. Special guest host Alzy. I guess even in a remote setting. Oh yeah, that's right. Back to the hells with you, Crom. Oh, but you say crumb when you eat toast in bed and you regret it later, right? A crotch cam should increase the views. It would. I mean, if we look at the IRL section of Twitch, oh, shots fired, pew pew. I'm just fooling. There are different techniques that can be employed subtly and not so subtly in order to increase views. I very much agree, Alzy. In fact, I don't know if I'm going to get to start it before the next adventure truly begins. But one of the things that I'm trying to accomplish from the channel, from all of your support through the purchase of miniatures, from donations, bits, subscriptions, is to set aside some money to buy a rig to take to the store, and when I do run content at the store, that I could broadcast that over the channel as well. Hey, Paisy! Special guest host, this Skype call on tablet. I'll see you guys next week. Someone turn off the tablet when you're done. Yeah, I'll just set the game on autopilot and hand everyone over to Alzy. Paisy, it's good to see you again. Welcome back. When your brush gets struck in your hair, to the 9 hells with you, comb! And Conan had some pretty good hair, too. Alright, Velma Dilly Dilly. Alzy, at least for the time being, we are going to revert Velma back to being the mountain dwarf that we all know and love. She has her short stack proportions, she's still a barbarian berserker, etc. and so forth. And so what I want to do now is let's have the changes be cumulative and see what happens to a character as perhaps even over the course of an interesting adventure. Wouldn't that be something, right? You start by playing a chaotic good female mountain dwarf barbarian, and something happens along the way. There you go, Diadems. Is starting a new trending global Twitter tag, hashtag Thick Velma. Yeah, girl. Paisley, how's it been going over here? I've been a touch too busy at the wrong times to pop in. Well, look, for those of you who do live across the pond, I appreciate it because I know that these aren't the optimal hours for a lot of people. But I still do respect and appreciate the fact that even if you can pop in to say hi before going to work or bed or taking a train, bus, or driving somewhere, thank you for doing so. Halsey. And in fact, this could be a very interesting way to predict a kind of adventure that we could have, that we could take this character on for Saturday. Oh, Paisley. Paisley noticed us again, everyone. Thank you, Paisley. I am happy that even if your time has been limited lately, that this channel is still worth the $5 or equivalent for you to support. It means a lot to me. And I will continue to put out the good stuff. Alrighty. Yep, Paisley hype. Event 1. Alright. So, Velma Dilly Dilly. On the course of whatever adventure that we can come up with her, probably for tomorrow's content. She is either going to become a male, or she is going to multi-class into something else. For purposes of this, I don't think we need to be repetitive and force one thing or the other to happen, because I want to take this one step at a time. Why don't we just go odds or evens? Odds is a gender swap, evens is a multi-class, because that can still have a big impact. So let's roll a d12 and find out. Evens. So she is going to become a multi-class character. And so instead of a Barbarian Berserker 6, what can happen is she is a Barbarian Berserker, and then we'll find an appropriate number. But let's roll the d12 and find out what her other multi-class is going to be. A monk. So why don't we go Barbarian Berserker 3, Monk something 3. That way she gets the paths of each, or the archetypes. Now, monks can be Way of the Open Hand, or Wata, a Way of Shadow, which is like a Shadow Dancer or Ninja, or a Way of the Four Elements. Let's roll a 3-sided die and find out what happened to Paisley, that she is now not just a barbarian, but a barbarian monk. A Way of the Open Hand. I'm going to call my Deer Centaur people Deatoire. Combination of the scientific name of deer and centaur. A Deatoire. Okay. I've done a terribly poor job of telling anyone, but my group actually started streaming our weekly Cypher games. Yeah, Paisley, please list that up on our community promotion. Help us help you. You know, get some views and chat hype. If I can, I'll stop in and say hi, and I'll return the favor in your channel. Oh, Cypher, I was in The Strange campaign a while ago, and it was pretty interesting. And Paisy says, I've yet to play Strange, but I enjoy anything in Cypher. So yeah, make sure you share that, Paisy, and we'll help you out. Now, keeping everything else the same, you know, we lost some Berserker abilities, but we didn't write everything out just yet. And her hit points and whatnot aren't going to be entirely relevant for what we're doing here. So, as we're continuing to have the same character, just maybe not the same as it ended than when you started, what's the next event that's going to happen to... I was going to say to Paisy. I was going to say to Velma instead. Velma Dilly Dilly. 8. Uh-oh. We're going to roll twice. Something has happened to Velma. 2 and 5. A background shift and an alignment shift. All right, so she's still the same, you know, coming into this, but at some point during her adventure or her life, she is left behind. She is left behind the adventures of a charlatan, and has dedicated her life to something else. Ooh, pardon me. That in particular is going to be... Oh, here we go. 13-sided die. An acolyte. Oh, so she found some religion. Speaking of pious barbarians. Personality, ideal, bond, flaw. And her alignment after finding this religion is going to change to... We're going to roll 2 percentiles and find out. 58-21. So she's grown or changed from a chaotic good person into a lawful neutral. Okay. So we're telling a tale here of good old Velma Dilly Dilly. Lawful neutral. A lawful neutral acolyte, berserker, barbarian, way of the open hand monk. So maybe by becoming a monk that put her on the path and she found some revelation later on. I'm not sure if I like the system itself, says LZ. I didn't click super well with the group, so it's hard to be sure. I've been incorporating more one-use items into D&D since playing Cypher, though. Matty Morgs, I put the concept art for them in the art channel. Oh, okay. Yeah, thank you for doing so, XCat. I'll take a look here in a little bit. This is going to happen to me. I'll figure out how to roleplay this. Lawful neutral seems monkish. It does, right? So she started on the path, and she's gone there. Sounds like she found some kind of Eastern religion, Buddhist monk. That could very well be the case. Now, as we go into Acolyte... That means her background, her personality is going to change into a 4 and a 5. And her ideal, bond, and flaw are going to be a 5-4-3. So she's given up her chaotic good charlatan ways of pulling cons on the street corners. And she's going to move into these aspects that are now replace this thought with generic Velma Dilly Dilly in your mind. Her personality is now as such that nothing can shake my optimistic attitude. Whoop, I misspelled that. Also, I quote or misquote sacred texts and proverbs in almost every situation. Well, she does have an 8 intelligence. You know, you could be faithful, but not necessarily be literate. I mean, I'm sure she's literate in some degree. But from here, you know, what would be the direction that she takes? She's now this lawful neutral acolyte. She is still a berserker barbarian. And what that could mean is she has found this kind of Eastern religion. She's found this yin-yang, right? There's a time when she is to be calm and meditative, and then there's a time to rage. And maybe she balances that between her monk fighting and her barbarian fighting. Hey, Rin, good to see you. Sorry I missed your introduction here. So what you're saying is the street corner is free for someone like me? Yeah, you can run card tricks on the street corner now, Rin. Not bad, Diadems, relaxing, doing some writing while listening to Maddie. Oh, well, I'm actually happy to be in the background, because I'll tell you, Rin, that's an awesome compliment, that if you can do other stuff in the background, like drive or work or other things safely or productively, but you can still enjoy what we do as sort of like a podcast, that actually means a lot. Because that's really what I hope to go for. Shopping for an audio mixer too, gonna level up that stream audio more. Yeah, you were talking about that in your channel, Rin. Diadems, about the same. Oh, you won a $5 Amazon gift card on Captain Milne's stream. That's awesome. You hear good things about Behringer interfaces. Yeah, I'm all eyeballing those, and Yamaha. Yes, card tricks. XCat, I'm going to slip away to play some Overwatch. Thank you, XCat. Be well. Thank you for sharing your art. We'll take a peek at it here in a little bit. Keep drawing, my man. And if you broadcast, make sure you put a link up in our promotion area. I mean, you're not completely in the background. I have 4 monitors. Oh, that's true. You have a battle station, my friend. Orcs Make Beautiful Lovers is here, and Lariat. Yeah, he's doing a 24-hour stream and a giveaway each hour. Oh, snap. Well, you know what? When we're done here tonight, maybe we'll go give him a raid, Diadems. Give him some support. Adjust his clothing. Yes, card tricks indeed. Good luck and don't pick Hanzo. Will do, Maddie. Now my screens work when drawing. I'll probably get back into a regular stream schedule. Yep. Make sure you let us know. Sure. What is your question, Orcs Make Beautiful Lovers? What is your question about multiclassing? Her ideal has now shifted from creativity to faith. I trust that my deity will guide my actions. I have faith that if I work hard, things will go well. Her bond, instead of feeling bad for swindling someone, maybe she's made peace with it. And let's go to her bond, which was... Oh, that was number 4, right? Yeah, number 4. Everything I do is for the common people. Ah, so she seemingly has found repentance for what happened in her youth. And her flaw is now not being haughty, that she can never be swindled herself. And her flaw is 3. My piety sometimes leads me to blindly trust those that profess faith in my God. So now she can be swindled on matters of faith. Because if someone says, well, I believe in the same thing, you say, oh, good, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. Which is, she's really turned around. She's gone from chaotic good to lawful neutral. And she has tried to find redemption. And now, instead of being foolhardy in that degree, she might even be a little bit too naive, because she wants to fit in with this new lifestyle that she's found. Okay, no problem, Orcs. Take your time. We'll help you out. I'm cool with that. I play Winston, so Hammond is a good tank buddy. Brian Adams starts playing Everything I Do It For You. Aw. Aw. Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Alright. What is going to happen next to our dear, sweet Velma Dilly Dilly as she takes this life's journey on whatever this adventure is? Event 3. Number 7. Her skills and her feats are going to change. Now, if we were to retrain her, her feats, as a part of her background, then she would lose sleight of hand and deception, probably giving those up. And instead, she would have taken... she would have taken insight and religion. Because we're going to be redoing her skills, perhaps that is what she's going to find along the lines of barbarian or monk. Now, this is something that you can bring up with your DM over the course of a game. Just because the book tells you that you get 2 skills from a background and 2 or more skills from a class or a race, doesn't mean that over the course of a game you can't say, I really want to work on trying to learn how to perform my instrument. You know, you could be a hermit and you don't have performance, but you do have proficiency in an instrument. And over the course of a campaign, if you're narrating, I want to play the instrument, I want to learn a new song, I want to get better, then over whatever, however many sessions or however many in-campaign months, weeks, years, your DM might allow you to just train into new skills, either to replace or just add to it because you've been diligently practicing. Or let's say that you haven't been using your deception all that much, but you have been doing performance. Then you might swap out for that with your DM's consent because you're role-playing through it. Don't be afraid to explore that. Orc says, okay, in a new Pathfinder but modern setting, we're dealing with the Cold War and time travel through it. It switches from 70s and 80s going back and forth. My character is a sinister minister, a lawful evil cleric, evangelist, derp, and a druid viper. Where do I put the mid-ground? Int or whiz? Also, clerics can cast whatever is on their list, but our druids fix casts. Orcs, I do not have a lot of experience with Pathfinder. So I cannot help you with the mechanics of that game. Maybe there's someone else in the audience who does. And if not here, Orcs, if you pop over to our workshop on our Discord, you might be able to ask that question as well. Now, as Pathfinder is based off of D&D 3rd edition, Druids, I believe, also had a cleric-like spell list where they could just pull from the entire Druid list up to the number of spells they could learn. Oh, alright, Rin, if you can help Orcs, I would appreciate it. Because, you know, in this case, I can speak Portuguese, he's speaking Spanish, and they're kind of the same, but there's a couple other words that if I mispronounce it, it's gonna start some sort of like trade war between our countries. So if you can help out Orcs, Rin, I would very much appreciate that. Okay, well, I'm glad I did. And also, if I recall, clerics and druids both cast off of wisdom, even in Pathfinder. So it would be, do you want more and more powerful spells? Or if you go intelligence, I think in Pathfinder that gives you more skills, more skill points. And so it'd be up to you. Do you want to have, unlimited cosmic power? Or do you want to be able to make your itty-bitty living space bigger because you can craft and you're better at whatever, use rope or sight and spot and all the other miscellaneous skills that exist in Pathfinder? Features Shelter of the Faithful. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. So we were talking about swapping out our skills. As a barbarian, we took perception and intimidation. Well, we already swapped with our background the two we picked up from Charlatan. So let's use this to now swap out instead of deception and sleight of hand. Because look, we've turned over. I'm sorry, that was becoming an acolyte. Perception and intimidation. We can find something else that we'd like to do. And let's look at, if we're focusing, this seems to be more on the monk side of things. Let's go to what skills a monk can have. Whoops. And with this different iteration of Velma Dilly Dilly, acrobatics, athletics, history, insight, religion, and stealth. Well, we get insight and religion, so that leaves stealth, history, athletics, and acrobatics. She may have an 8 in intelligence, but maybe she's trying to turn over this new leaf. She wants to be more literate, and she wants to balance out her rage with fits of reading instead of fits of fists. So maybe instead she takes up. She could take up history. So it's not going to increase her intelligence score, but particularly with history, particularly with religion, she's going to be better than a broad base of knowledge. And she's definitely strong. And as we gender her up here, right? Dexterity's been important to her, especially because she was running those con games. So maybe now, as a way to work out different martial katas and forms and ways to use her muscles in other instances, maybe she takes up acrobatics. Pretty much what I want is a sneaky with a butterfly knife and my snake. But as an evangelist, I pick up bardic performance like a bard, so I can inspire and counter song. King says Robin Williams is truly the darkest of lords. His tainted soul persists forever in this realm, lingering in the heart of every child. Interesting, King, interesting, says Diadems. Anyone who could make Patch Adams must be evil. Alright, so now you're getting to some minutia or details of Pathfinder that my generic knowledge, it's getting lost in the woods. So Rin Vindor is going to have to take you into the woods, orcs. I hope that you can trust Rin. And I would definitely worry, because if you start worrying when you're walking into the woods with Rin, he's going to look at you and say, "You're worried. I'm the one who has to leave here alone." Right, but what's behind that face, Rin? I know, right? And the woods are hard to navigate at night. Now, we are going to be taking a feat, or in this case, because we're still keeping her level 6. She's going on a journey of some kind, but, she's still going to be who she is, and things are happening. We can imagine that she progresses and takes a feat instead of an ASI, and maybe we'll do that tomorrow and we come up with her story, her solo campaign, right? You can play Heads Up D&D with someone else. But if that's the case, what kind of a feat then would she take if we were to back off her points from this stat line here? She ended up taking, let's see, we went 15, 14, 13. How did we do that? Because we got 2 and 2 in strength and con from being a mountain dwarf. And then we put 1 and 1 into something. Well, let's even consider. She might even take a feat that doesn't include a stat bump of some kind. Given who she is now, right? She's this acolyte, insight, religion. What might she pick up? She's optimistic. She misquotes sacred texts. I trust my deity will guide my actions. She is a barbarian monk. Athlete could be interesting. Climbing, if you're prone, you can sort of do a kip up. You can make a running long jump or a running high jump after moving only 5 feet. Athlete could be a good one for her. Healer could be interesting as well. You're an able physician, allowing you to mend wounds quickly. She doesn't have training, but you don't need training in it necessarily. Keen Mind. Keen Mind is always a feat. It's a generically good feat. She can be an inspiring leader because she does have a high charisma still. But I don't think she's necessarily still social from the changes that we've made to Velma Dilly Dilly. Mage Slayer could be interesting. Right? Neither monk nor barbarian are especially magical. And she's taken on this, she has this power inside her, this key. As a way to balance things out for people who abuse their magics. She might see that as a meeting out of justice. Magic Initiate could be interesting. But now her wisdom... well, her charisma is high. She could pick up some magic in learning how to be an acolyte. Resilient is a solid one as well. That will make her even tougher. We could even just make her way more skilled. So she picks up a variety of skills to make her more well-rounded. Ooh, I kind of like the sound of that one. Let's do that, right? Velma Dilly Dilly is getting an edumacation. And then she's going to pick up skills or tool use. Now, she lost the ability to use... the proficiency in how we're changing her with a disguise kit and so forth from her background there. But maybe she wants to pick up... Maybe she wants to pick up Persuasion. And let's give her some sort of tools. She still is a mason, based on her training as a dwarf. Perhaps she'll pick up an instrument of some kind. What kind of an instrument would Velma Dilly Dilly play? And what else might she take? I don't think she's very stealthy. Insight, religion? Well, if we took acrobatics, then maybe we can counter that and also give her athletics. And so she's honing her mind and her body. My attorney advises I decline to answer that, says Ren. At Orcs, feel free to tag me in my server and I'll offer what I can. Who is this imposter? The real Maddie drinks from a jug. I have both. So I have my soda stream, so I make my own soda. And I also have my pitcher of ice water, but I've consumed from that already. It has been eschewed, as during the break I blended my own soda variety. All right, event 4. An alignment shift. Uh-oh. What's happened to Velma? 54 and 10. That is still going to be lawful neutral, so that's not a shift. Let's roll it again. 36-63. Neutral good. Okay. Our same character now has had something happen in her life that has taken her lawful neutral expression of herself and has now turned her to be more selfless. Something has happened. Something has changed. Her heart has grown 3 sizes that day. A drums or a kalimba. I'm not sure what a kalimba is, but drums could work. Even something, you know what would be interesting too, Alzy? Like a tambourine or some maracas or some castanets. Right? So you can like play your castanets as you're dancing on the battlefield and still be able to tag, or you could use your tambourine and you could still, tambourine, bim, bim, ba, bim, bim, ba. And of course, with that in your mind, I'll put an earworm in if it didn't make sense, right? Event 5. Option 1. Class and archetype. Okay. What has happened as she has now had a change of heart. Maybe she has eschewed what she's learned as a barbarian and a monk. And instead, Velma Dilly Dilly is going to take up the life of 3. As a cleric. So, she's done following quasi-spiritual paths or trying to find the answers within. She has become a cleric of... there are 7, and she's not evil, so death isn't going to be an option in this case. 3. Light. A cleric of light. Level 6. No multi-class. Just boom. Straight up. Now, with this, and this is something, by the way, I allow if during the course of a campaign, if I'm offering this kind of a bleed off or a shift ability during a campaign, I am open-minded to people swapping around some scores and other things that are relevant that might reflect some kind of training or retraining, or depending on the circumstances, right? A mysterious magical flash washes over them. And so that might have them forget spell lists because they want to be a barbarian and not a wizard anymore. I mean, that didn't happen, but you see what I'm saying. You're providing an outlet or a way for your players throughout the course of the campaign to make these adjustments so that they feel that they can grow their character mechanically and not just through fluff or just saying, okay, well, I'm doing this, but it doesn't reflect. I would recommend as a DM, offer some kind of bleed off like this. Offer some kind of pressure release valve where you can have some shifts, some like hard mechanical shifts that still make sense for the character, but that you can manifest it in a way that makes sense inside your campaign. And so now, with the character as she is a cleric. Her skills are not necessarily going to pass muster, in so much that, you know what, maybe she's going to have to get her wisdom higher. Now, you don't always have to run a character with a maximum, with a maximum stat. As you might take attack spells, especially as a light cleric, I mean, it should probably be halfway decent, but there's nothing saying you can't just take a bunch of support spells either. It's up to you. Consider that. If any of you are here, if you remember, we made that bard with, I think, a 10 charisma, and all she took were support spells that didn't need rolls or saves. It was all buffs and other things like that, since she was a College of Valor bard, and she just wanted to move in and beat people with her sword. And she used her magic to support herself in the party, not to be a caster. She was a fighter. A sword and board rolled up on you in medium armor with like a gleaming breastplate, and she'd beat you down. If you didn't know she was a bard, it'd be difficult to tell. Multiclassing can be a great opportunity for side story. In one podcast I listened to, there was a side arc dedicated to the fighter becoming an understudy of a recurring NPC to learn rogue skills. Yeah, you can develop an NPC, a part of the world, associations with a guild. You can do a lot that's outside the mechanics of, well, it makes sense to just take 2 or 3 levels of this first, and then take 2 or 3 levels of this, and then cap it off with here, because mechanically you're not going to miss some ability or another. You can play D&D that way. I'm not saying that's bad, or people who think that way are bad. Though in a story, if you go fighter cleric, well, I mean, why aren't you a paladin? Still though, how does that match up? Are you a cleric of light, but then you also go through and beat down people as a fighter? Does your god grant you those boons because of your lifestyle as a fighter and not just the mechanics of being a cleric? How would it work if you play a cleric warlock? Do you play it as a conflict of faith or a conflict of deference to some grand being or another? Can you follow a god and your patron at the same time? Or, as a lot of people will combo for mechanical reasons, a sorcerer and a warlock. It has tremendous mechanical. I don't know if it's necessarily min-maxing per se, but it has tremendous mechanical benefits to do that. But how would that work? Did the patron take an interest in you because of your magical blood? Or is there something else that's going on the side? Multiclassing is a tremendous opportunity to explore your character in the world, as Alzi said. As long as you bless someone before killing them, then kill them all, says Diadems. Yeah, kill them all and I'll let my deity sort them out. Fighter Cleric allows for rougher personality, I think. Paladins have an oath. Fighter clerics just have faith and strength. Maybe they're alcoholic or into gambling. So now we have a cleric. Velma Dilly Dilly she has seen the light. And in so much doing this, maybe she's retrained herself so that her wisdom is compatible. Now, of course, we have to take the difference here. So, you know, we'll put down here stats shift with it. Event 6. We're going to take her through... It's an arbitrary number. Let's take her through 10 events in the life of her adventure. And then we'll see how far she's come as a character. Number 7. Skills and feats. Shift again. So now we have added... persuasion, athletics, and she has history, acrobatics, insight, and religion. Maybe some of these have changed. Again, she's played out being a cleric, and she's changed into something else. Maybe as part of this conversion, she has enlightened herself. Maybe she is more intelligent. And so we could go through and swap up. She probably is going to keep insight and religion. If she's not as physical anymore, she'll probably drop acrobatics and maybe even athletics. So if we swap athletics and acrobatics to... What would she take as a cleric on this prompt? Medicine? Medicine, and she still plays an instrument. How about this? Medicine and performance. So now she can sing and play her instrument in a meditative fashion, or in a chorus, or on display in some case. Pneumonica, I'm gonna be listening, but I need to do some insulin pump stuff. Oh, yep, got you, Pneumonica. I am familiar with those devices, so do what you gotta do, brother. Medieval monks were pretty intelligent since all they did was stay inside and write books in Latin. Hang on now, Alzy. Monty Python and the Holy Grail clearly taught us that all they did was walk around, chant in Latin, and beat their heads with wooden scriptures. Come on. Don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining, Alzy. Now, as for the feat, well, she took skilled. She might very well stick to that. If we wanted to shift that as well, I reckon we could, but this is still kind of keeping in line with other changes. Unless we wanted to move over, if she loses instrument, in which case performance could still be oration or the like. If we drop skilled, then acrobatics could be replaced by persuasion. Insight, religion. Maybe she loses insight then, if she still blindly trusts people to profess faith. And we go medicine and performance as we swap out. So we would lose that. And so what would we go to as a cleric? Oh, you know what? I think we talked about possibly inspiring leader. She's now become an inspiring leader with her ascent into becoming a light cleric. They also brewed some darn rootin' tootin' fine beer, says Elsie. Anyone who devotes their life to brewing ale is the very definition of intelligence in my book. Hey, talk to Risky Business then. Those guys make microbrews. They play D&D. They're a bunch of good guys up in Canada land. And, you know, part of that, too, was because when you have unsafe water supplies, you can either drink from a creek filled with the filth of the village, or through fermentation, you can kill all the bacteria and get a little bit of a buzz off of it. So it had a practical sense to it as well. I now have a tabby beard. Okay, event number 7. Oh, thank you, Rachie. Is event number 1. Another class and archetype. I can't... Okay, there we go. Velma. Having seen the light, is now choosing to embrace the number 8. And the number 8 being the 8th number of a ranger. Still casting off of wisdom. Stats are probably going to be the same mostly. A ranger specifically. Evens. A beastmaster. And one who has traveled around and has taken up 8 also. The Underdark. Okay. Terrain 1. Underdark. I think by level 6 she gets a second one. Terrain 2. So she's experiencing the Underdark and the Arctic. Ooh. Ooh, some survival skills, right? And she picked up a pet somewhere along the way. Someone was talking about having a pet phase spider. Maybe she picked one of those up in the Underdark. I know it's not a beast per se, as the companion says, but or as the PHB says. And then this is going to give way to some sort of a favored enemy also. And there's a plethora that she has hunted. So favored enemy 1. And I think she also gets a second one. If so, we'll still roll it. Let's pop over to our player's handbook and go to classes, ranger. Let's check it out real quick. Natural explorer. And she needs a fighting style also. Fighting style of a D4. Number 2. Defense. Okay. Beginning at first level. Yeah, and you get a second one at 6th level, too. Alright, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. There are 13 types. Technically, though, 14, because we can choose humanoid, and then there's 2 humanoid types within there. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I'm going to roll a 14-sided die, and let's find out what her favorite enemies are. 8 and 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is fiends. Fiends and undead. Oh my, what has happened to poor Velma, everyone? What happened to Velma that she's kind of lost her faith and has become a fiend and undead hunter? Dwarf Ranger in the Underdark, huh? Wonder what her relationship with the Duergar is. I'm sure they're all very short with each other. Event 8. What happens to her next? Number 3. Uh-oh. She might have encountered some kind of magic here. We're going to go odds or evens. Odds, she becomes a male. Evens, she multi-classes again. Odds. Velma Dilly Dilly is still a ranger, is still all of this stuff, with the exception of the fact that she is now a he. Is this some sort of divine punishment for abandoning her inner self and gods? Is it a blessing for this for embracing something? Is it the result of? Is this some sort of like a detective? Case closed with with the detective who was turned into a kid by a poison or a potion. What happened to turn Velma from a girl into a guy? Possibly 12 for 10, but something has occurred now so that Velma is a he dwarf instead of a she dwarf. And think about the campaign possibilities, right? Could it be a spell? Could it be the work of some kind of divine favor? Could it be a curse? A blessing or a curse? From a divinity, from a demon? If she's hunting undead, she's probably had an encounter with them. You know, a lich could be toying with her. In this case, now a him. What impact would this have on the character? If everything about your character, think about whatever character you're playing right now in whatever game. If your character became a she instead of a he, or the other way around, what would that change? Would that possibly alter relationships with other PCs or NPCs? Could that open or close doors to your character? This may be something that seems simple, right? You're just swapping a word for another one. But in the context of whatever the world, the society, the racial, the racial components to morality or faith or whatever, or a caste system, this could have a big impact on the character. As Velma comes back and something has happened to her to have Velma be a him. Maybe she took on the mantle of a fallen priest, and in taking up his hunter oath, took on some of his physical characteristics. Oh, so yeah, she could be possessed in a way that resulted in a physical manifestation of this fallen ranger, right? She's already proven to be a vessel of faith and spirit, but she eschewed that for this life of a ranger. She went to go hunt down fiends and undead. Traumatized by the death of a close friend at the hands of undead, she assumed his identity. That could be it too. 12 for 10. Chaotic Blue, that's a good question. Is the biological change from magic or an outward appearance change? I get what you're saying, Chaotic. At our tabletop right now in context, I think we can talk openly about different concepts. But yeah, think about it. Oh yeah, are we going to Mulan this? That could be a result as well. She used to wander around with a troop of mystery solvers, right? A group of mystery solvers in like a green, barrel-topped wagon? Ridiculous. Event 9. Uh-oh, whatever her adventure is coming. It's coming to the end of what this adventure is entailing for Velma Dilly Dilly. Number 7. Skills and feats. All right. So here, we may have lost as a ranger some of the like what we had as a cleric, and as a cleric, we picked up I forget which skills, so we would end up replacing those. In fact, maybe even more, or pick up a spare one because ranger gets 3 skills, not 2. But we can go through now, and instead of inspiring leader, right? Maybe she's still neutral good. But instead of that, maybe she has chosen to replace natural leader with another feat. Actor could be interesting. Oh, Dungeon Delver, right? She was down in the Underdark. She's been traipsing around the Arctic. Or she does track down fiends and undead. So that's against advantage on saving throws made to avoid or resist traps. Resistance to magical damage by traps, and you can search for traps while traveling at a normal pace. What is there anything else that could be for who Velma is now? Oh, a keen mind could be a good one. You always know your direction, the time, and you can accurately recall things you've seen or heard. That might not be a bad one to swap to. She also, going against fiends or even undead who may have cursed her or struck a bargain or something that caused this swap. She may be a mage slayer now. She would still have a high wisdom. She could be a ritual caster, too. She's a beastmaster, so she does hunt. Maybe sentinel could work. Skulker? Well, if she did take up being stealthy, especially in the Underdark and such, you can try to hide when lightly obscured, when you're hidden from a creature and miss with a ranged attack. Dim light doesn't impose disadvantage on your perception checks relying on sight. So that's good, especially in the Underdark, because dark vision makes darkness into dim light. So therefore, Skulker would take away the disadvantage from attacking in the dark. I think Skulker might work. So in this case, we're going to have Inspiring Leader is going to go to Skulker. And several feats are going to swap out to reflect that. She's probably going to take up Stealth. Katie, welcome. Thank you very much. And hey, AP. Well, so welcome, AP, and Katie Sue, thank you. I hope you had fun in your broadcast. I saw that you were running, and I'm sorry I didn't have the chance to pop over and say hi in your channel, Katie Sue, before I had to start what I was doing here. But for all of you out there, Katie Sue does broadcast content on her channel, and I would recommend giving her a follow also. She's an awesome person. She's funny. She's running Tomb of Annihilation. It's a fun time. Although tonight you weren't running Tomb. You were Katie, can you remind me? Can you talk about what you were doing tonight in your channel? The Mysticism Machine, I think it was called, says Alzy. Yeah. The green barrel-topped wagon, and it has like orange flowers painted on the side. There's a Mastiff that follows along too, with this crew. Oh, I'm sorry, Horde of the Dragon Queen. That's right. All right. Lastly, the final, what is happening to our mountain dwarf. Our now male mountain dwarf. Beastmaster Ranger. Who's been on a journey, who has searched his soul, has found and lost faith, has picked up and forgotten skills. Event 10 of Velma Dilly Dilly. 8. 8's a reroll. We pick up 2 different things to do. 1 and another 8. Oh boy, this is going to be a doozy. 1 and then 2 more. 7. 2 more. 2 and 3. You want to talk about a final climax here in the story of Velma. Let's see what happens. So what do I do with the characters I make? When I finish with them, they are put up on YouTube. So if you want to get some inspiration or creation, you can go back and listen to their story and see them be created. Maybe you can use them at your tabletop. Aside from that, I also upload them onto our Discord channel. And you can access them that way if you want to either watch the video or download the PDFs and other documentation yourself. Oh, some pizza? What kind of pizza, AP? Alzi, another thought. The dwarves have an immortal king in that the successor assumes the identity of the original king. Same name, etc. After an undead raid, the king and all successors are slain, so Velma must adopt the identity of the immortal king, now living as a man. Oh, here. We can use this as an idea, Alzi. So it doesn't even have to be, yeah. Do we want this to be a physical, like a magical girl transformation into a magical guy? I guess as a ranger is magical. You know, was it a physical change? Or in this case, was it that that Velma took up the mantle of a male character and is living that part despite having an innie and not an outie? Okay, the final climax of the story of Velma Dilly Dilly. How is she going to end up? What is going to happen? And as we go back to level 1, but as Velma existed originally, as this chaotic good, charlatan, this sleight of hand trickster on a street corner, mountain dwarf, berserker barbarian, after everything she's been through, this is what's going to happen. 1. This is going to be class, archetype, skills and feats, background, and does she reveal herself to be the queen she always has been? If we're going with what Alzi said and she's assumed the moniker of this king, and that'll happen on an odd roll. On an even, instead, she has taken up a multi-class. We'll find out, right? Let's roll a d12. Odds or evens? Odds. She goes back to being a female. All right, so we have a female. Her new background is going to be that of an acolyte. She's found her faith again, everyone. Although she didn't lose her, she didn't lose acolyte, did she? So I guess I'm gonna have to re-roll this because she's still an acolyte from background. All right, never mind. Let's 11. Whoop, that's a warlock. Huh. By that I mean, a sailor or a pirate. Skills and feats will change as necessary. And her class and archetype is going to shift to D12. 4. She's going to find herself as a druid. Aw. So Alzi, Chaotic Blue's giving you her 2 bits. Every time he says, we'll find out, it feels like tune in next week. Woo! Alzy wins! Isn't that the name of the game? We're playing Alzy wins! Official 2-bit trollop. And as a druid, she will find herself as... let's roll odds or evens. Odds. For druids, that is Circle of the Land. Specifically, we're going to roll a d8. 1. So she has kept her Arctic... she has kept her Arctic sort of background as a ranger. And you know what? We could come up with a whole 20 levels, right? If we start her at level 1, Velma Dilly Dilly, level 1 is this. We can take her on an adventure that will end at level 20 with her being a female, maybe, I mean, she's still neutral good. I mean, could be a pirate or a privateer. A sailor. Different set of skills and a feat, who is a druid, Circle of the Land, who focuses on Arctic spells. My Aussie internet doesn't handle streaming. Oh, thank you for following her channel, Diadems. Katic says, I probably should have done that on your channel if you have one. Eventually, I'm hoping to read public domain works on Twitch. You know, oh, Alzy. I thought about doing something like that. When I was deciding what I wanted to do on Twitch, I'm not saying this to step on what you want to do. Please, if you want to do it, then do it. I was thinking of readings. And you know, over the course of the week, we'll go through this book or something along those lines. So, if it means anything to you, Alzy, I think it's a cool idea. And if that's something that you enjoy and you could get impassionate about, that could fill a very specific niche. Because then we can stop using Alexa as a male Australian accent to read back our Audible books to us. Pneumonica, I am from the dust returned. Feel free to be disgusted. I'm eating spam. No, spam isn't bad, and you could put it with a lot of different things. Katie says, Diadems, thank you so much. Also, the bonus is, Maddie Morgs and I usually stream at the same time, so you can always miss mine and catch up on YouTube. So you can watch Maddie. Well, here's the secret, Katie. My stuff goes up on YouTube as well. So in this case, Mommy and Daddy don't have to fight and make the kids awkward at Thanksgiving. They are free to choose whose house they want to spend Thanksgiving at. And clearly it's mine, because I give them pumpkin pie with extra whipped cream. Yes, Uncle Matty approves. I am validating your life choices, Alzy. But yeah, if you want to do that as a niche, I think that's a very specific one. That's something that I did some research in, Alzy, and I think that can have some promise with how you want to deliver it. So I want to encourage you, Alzy, even if you have your internet service provider is doo-doo butter, we'll put it politely. Even if your ISP is doo-doo butter, you might still be able to broadcast voice only or something along those lines. Katie Sue, and I kill orphans. See, not... Yeah, right? Ta-da! And you know what? You know what's going to be super interesting? However long this takes, look, we rolled her up as a young dwarf. She has hundreds of years to go through this evolutionary process of herself. And by the end, when you reach a druid that old, she's going to live thousands of years now. Because of what druids get by the end. You'll be moving soon. Hopefully we'll get a better connection. As we were going through this process... Like, did you find this fun and enjoyable? Was it a good roleplay challenge? Does this show how a character can grow over time? Or as a DM, if this isn't your character, as a DM and you want to make plot points for a story, you can do this. Practice incremental changes. What's the next thing to happen? The next thing to happen. The next thing to happen. And then bridge the gap by trusting in your own improvisation skills. Improvisation! I hope this was fun. This was a little bit different than what we would normally do by making separate characters who are photographs and then sort of plopping them into a campaign at the end. We'll still make a campaign around her, but the campaign has already been outlined. What we're going to do is fill in the gaps. You know, is she going to face down a pit fiend? Is that why she is hunting as a ranger? Or, you know, some sort of a demi-lich, or just an antagonizing flaming skull that follows her around and harasses her. If you're a druid and a monk multiclassing, I guess that means you'll get to live thousands of years and look hot and young the whole time. Yes, Alzy. Very interesting way to play. I knew about training skills, but never thought about going this far. Yeah, you can well, all right. Your DM may consider training or retraining over the course of a campaign, depending on the circumstances of the campaign itself and or how you have played this character. I think that a lot of GMs would be open to it, even if they don't consciously recognize that as an ability to happen throughout the course of D&D. Which is why you as a player have to step up and provide this as an option. Talk to your DM and say, okay, you know, I understand we've been going through the desert now. We've been here for a couple months. We've been trading with people. We've been wearing the appropriate clothes. Would you be willing to allow me to get proficiency in survival? And your DM might hem and haw and say, I don't know, it's only been a couple months and everyone's just kind of told you what to do. You haven't been surviving. Comma but. Because no but or yes and or no and or yes but are good ways to think. As a DM, you might tell your player, I won't give you full proficiency in survival, but you have started the process. I will give you half proficiency rounded down. And for every month you continue to practice survival, I will let you increase your proficiency by 1, you know, of an in-game, well, I mean, maybe out of game, but in in-game terms. If you're actively surviving, I will let you then increase half proficiency up to full proficiency over the course of time, depending on your role-playing. Does that seem like a reasonable alternative to you as a player or as a DM out there? Does it reward your characters for becoming invested in your story and world? That's a small price to pay if you even choose to look at letting your characters learn skills like that. My half-elf bard that wanted to be a pop star turned into a powerful sorcerer that took down the big bad, and used a spell to turn herself fully human so she could live out a short but full life of retirement. That's a great story, Katie. So in fact, what you just described is a microcosm of what we're talking about here, and I appreciate you sharing that story. Alzy says, I'm very supportive of players adding skills or items if they can justify them narratively. Yeah, be creative, pay attention, show that you're active at the table. I've been pretty lucky, though. I rarely have anyone trying to beat me. Yeah, if it becomes a competition where the game is us versus them, you know, whether that's DM or PC saying that one way or the other, that's when some things can happen. Not good things. All right. I think this segment's over. I'm not going to finish the broadcast. But I'm going to get up and I got to use the restroom and replenish my liquids as the vicious cycle continues. It's like I keep drinking water, but I can't hang on to it. How does that work? It's no fun, us versus them. Yeah, it's a game for everyone at the table. Honestly, I take joy as a DM. I'm fairly confident my PCs are going to overcome my villains or my monsters. Where I extract the joy isn't the competition, but watching them think and strategize and taking joy in how they work together to overcome a particular challenge that I set in front of them. Hey, Golden, good to see you. Yeah, beat monsters, not the GM. And I've brought this up before as a fun little trick. If you want, instead of miniatures, as a DM, if you do want some friendly competition or you just want to have some fun and reward your players, take a candy like a Starburst. Well, all right, here in the US, they're called Starbursts. It's like a little, like a fruit taffy that's covered in a wax paper that has different colors. And if you need to, you can take a marker because it's wax paper and write G for goblin or something like that. Or you can say all yellow Starburst are archers and all orange ones are hobgoblins with swords or something like that. And then you can play a fun kill and keep. And so if your rogue takes the kidney of a goblin, then you remove that Starburst piece off the map and you give it to the rogue for killing the goblin, and then they get a little piece of candy for to chew on for fun. You have Starburst, yellow best flavor, destroy all red. All right, so then red, Alzy, you just make those into like the one-hit minions, and you flood the map with red. You give those to your players, and then you say, "Oh, I guess I have some monsters left over. I guess all the pink, orange, and yellow is mine." Oh darn. Yep, those are good. I'll trade you a yellow for red, and you know what? That happens also too. Chaotic Blue is the players might trade their candies as well. Or some might be upset that the rogue keeps kill stealing their Starburst on the map. King says the pink master race, and Golden seems to back it up. Pink is the best Starburst flavor. So then you save pink for the big bad evil guy, right? Pink is the boss if that's how you run it at your table. But yeah, doing a kill and keep system, that can be a lot of fun too. All right, everyone, hang on. Let's take another break and come back. We'll be in part 3. We could talk about whatever. I'll give you some experience points for fun. Oh no. Alzy and Blue, the power couple of the channel, are now broken up. All over Starburst. Hopefully. Will they recover? Alzy, as you said, stay tuned next time. Well, stay tuned in 10-ish minutes or so, and we'll find out the answer.